What a great way to finish off this book and tie it into what we do every day. The Law of Legacy, Law 21. We made it. Congratulations, all of you. Huge, huge round of applause. And even if you weren't here with us for the whole time, we're just so thankful to see you guys here. And Linda and Stacy are matching. We didn't get the memo. Sherry and I are matching. Sherry and I are matching. You two are matching.
Yeah. We need to organize this on the screen for the awesome pick, right?
I know, I can't do that. It would be super fun to do like twin day and everybody like organize with one other person. Yeah.
I can move people on the screen.
What? How? No. Get out of town. Well, actually, they're on my screen the right way.
I can move you guys. This is unbelievable.
I can. That is so cool. Okay, so that is something we need to do one day, is we need to do twin day and everybody needs to dress alike. Okay, sorry.
Excuse us.
We're having a moment. It could be really early today. It might be because it's early. It might be because I'm hoping my husband's coming in here with my slim and active promptly.
Cheers.
Yeah. Yikes. Okay. The Law of Legacy. I actually found it super impactful to listen to this on Audible. Just hearing John talk about the Law of Legacy, hearing his voice and his inflection was just so impactful for me. Yeah, it was super amazing. And I have to say, I hadn't, as much as we talk about legacy, I hadn't actually thought about it from, I guess, I've always thought about it as from a certain angle, right? But there were some things that were just super, super impactful. So I do want to hear from you guys, but I'll hold my tongue on this for a little bit. But Sherry, why don't you let us jump in, or you push us off the edge, or whatever you're going to do.
I actually thought maybe if we talked a little bit about Mother Teresa's legacy, because I think most of us know who that is, and we're aware of what that legacy looked like to us. And so my first question is, what does Mother Teresa's legacy look like to you? And what words come to mind, I guess, or what thoughts come to mind when you think about Mother Teresa's legacy?
Don't everybody talk at once.
I know it's early.
It's early. Well, I feel like it's earlier today than it ever has been.
I think she cared about herself more than others. I mean, the other way around. Cared about others more than herself.
Yeah.
It's early. Sorry.
It is
early. It's early.
It's early. We understood what you were saying.
Mhm.
Yeah. We might need, could we have a moment of silence while all of us like consume what it is that wakes up our brains? That would be super. It's gonna take some Metaburn. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point, Linda, because that's what comes to mind. Brenna?
I think in terms of legacy, she has left a legacy that says that we can make a difference in the world. That one person who has compassion and generosity and cares about others can truly make an impact. And I think that's something that's super inspirational for a lot of people, that wherever they are in their local context, they can actually do something that makes an impact.
For sure. It totally pulls my brain back to being a catalyst of hope that I have now mentioned, I think 6,000 times from Super Saturday. That Kyle Rainey had talked about, that hope is a verb, and we need to believe that we can increase the amount of hope in the world. And she did that. She truly did that. And I think it was so amazing how the situation that he was describing when they went to her tomb, the area where her tomb was in the dining room was being utilized for members to be accepted into the order. And the number of members, what was it, 40 you say 40? I can't remember.
Or how many?
Anyway, the number of people that were being ushered into the order, Mother Teresa's order, like, and that was only on that one day. Like, it's not like since she died, this is how many people have. No, that was on the one day. And there have been many, many, many others since, because they want to pursue that same line of work that she did and affect the same change and be a catalyst for hope and all of those things.
And I think we all think too that, you know, we have to have this great name or all this money or all this influence or all this, whatever you want to name it, to make a difference. And she really didn't. She came from the poorest of poor, and she just had compassion, right? She didn't need to have money to build things. She just loved people where she was at, whatever, you know, whoever was able to cross paths with her. So, yeah.
I think, Stacy, that's a really, really good thought. Is her gift was compassion, and she turned her gift into an incredible legacy. Yeah.
And I think that that's just it, right? Like, we've each been gifted different things. It's just whether or not we want to take our gifting and run with it. And I do believe that we're all able to leave large impacts, legacy, by utilizing our gifts and abilities. It may not be to be in Calcutta and be a nun. I think that ship has sailed for me. But there's other gifts and abilities that we all can use here where we are, or wherever our passion takes us, to leave that mark, that stamp, right? $45 new members into our order. There it is.
So when we think about it, and we think about Mother Teresa, we think about how huge an impact she made. But who do you know in your life that left a legacy that inspired you? And I'm going to say pop in. Then Jimmy Lou's going to hop in, but we can't hear her yet. But then she's going to hop in. But the person that I think of instantly, and it's such a small thing, but it's a big thing, and it was my grandmother. And I would go, and she was gardening, and she was often gardening, and she was into her 70s. I thought she was old. Now, this is my perspective has totally changed. So, just, work with me here. I thought she was old. She had a sink in her bathroom, and by this time she had running water. So, it wasn't that long ago. Anyway, every day after she came in from the garden, she would lift up her feet, and she would stand at that sink, and she would put her foot into the sink to wash her feet. And then she would switch feet, and she would put the other foot into the sink to wash her feet. And I was like, Grandma, like, why are you doing that? And she said to me these words. She said, if I do this every day, I will always be able to do it every day. And she said it once, and I have never forgotten it. And it's like, yeah, the things we do every day are the things that really matter as time goes on. Whether it's something physical, whether it's something mental, whether it's something, whatever it is. And there's many other things that she gifted me in her life as she was an example. But that's one that I have never forgotten. So Jimmy, you're unmuted. Are you able to share with us now? No, we can't hear you.
No,
now you are muted according to the thing. We want your wisdom, Jimmy.
Like, no.
Jimmy, are your earplugs plugged in? What if you unplug them? Like unplug them from the computer,
Or the phone, whatever you're on.
whatever you're on. Yeah.
We're having massive audio issues for poor Jimmy in general.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is, I swear, this got to be prayed over, people. This is on my phone too. And these are like, you think, oh my word. So anyways, yeah, we know this whole stories of this last week. Talking about legacy, for me, it's my mom, right? My mom's been passed away now for, I think it's got to be 4 years. But she just had, anyways, yeah, there were so many things that I can think of that she left a legacy. And how I know she left a legacy is because people will talk to me about her and what she did for them, right? Your mom, da 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 da. Your mom, I was down this road, things were bad. She came to me, right? Like my mom would go, she would, if somebody needed something or needed support, she was there for them, right? My mom, the legacy that she left was really that anybody and everybody was welcomed in the home. So as a child growing up, I remember we had many times we had cousins living with us that maybe were not doing well where they were living, and they would end up living with us, right?
Are you ready to have a good time now?
We'll mute her.
You know, and so the legacy she left, my mom, the biggest legacy is that everyone was welcome. Everyone was welcome into her home. Everyone was welcome into the family. And it didn't matter who you were, where you were from, you were welcomed in. But be ready, be forewarned. She also would not shy away from telling you about her Jesus, right? If you're going to come into your house, watch out. She's also going to tell you about that. And so, but that was her legacy. Her legacy was truly that everybody and anybody was welcome. And so my life revolved around a lot of the time, different people staying there, you know, and because mom felt that she needed to help them, right? This was the place for them to be, at the ranch, and help. So yeah, that was her legacy.
That's beautiful.
Anyone else have someone that they think of when we talk about legacy?
Yeah, I think of my grandma too. I never met her. She was born in 1906. I think this is my grandma. She was in her late 50s. My dad was in his late, or her husband was in his late 60s when my mom was born. So my mom was a big surprise down the road. And so I never knew my grandparents at all. But I remember stories of how, and she's got journals that my mom has, where she has prayed for all of her kids by name, all of her grandkids that she knew at the time, and for those that weren't. And family was very, very important to her. She was very, very poor. They were very, very poor. One of my older aunties just wrote a book about them growing up and how they grew up, and how they still had horse and buggy, and how they would gather together and spend time together as a family and do, you know, work. They worked very, very hard. Hard work was always very important to them. But just that, the importance of family and always getting together. And even though I never knew my grandma, my mom has that gifting. She is very good at making sure the family always gets together, right? So she'll have, you know, all my cousins and her sisters and brothers, those that are still alive, and just have family together. And so And my mom's been very blessed. All of her kids live within 2 minutes of her. So we get to get together all the time, and family is just so important. And that's not to say we don't have our dramatic stuff that goes on and things that, but we always know that we are family. We, no matter what happens, family is important. So that was something that I now, to my kids, family is very important. Doesn't matter what's going on, but we meet every day for supper. We have dinner around the table. We have devotions at breakfast time. Like, that's just very, very, that faith and family is very, very important to our family now. So even though I never knew my grandma, she left a legacy that is important.
And Stacy, your mom adopted that, right? That's how a legacy works, right? And what did John Maxwell, sorry, I'm taking this over, Sherry. What did John Maxwell say? How you figure out if a legacy is there is not even in your children, but in your grandchildren, right? So now for you, Stacy, this is important to you. So what are you going to be doing? You're doing it, right?
And that piece to me gave an interesting perspective, because I had always had maybe a shorter view of impact in the home, like as a mother, right? And for me, my children are getting to be that teenage stage, and it's sort of like, okay, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. I'm done. You guys are fine. I raised you well. Like, just keep it together. Some days that's kind of how I feel. And it's like, no. The work is not done, because you need to raise these children up so that the legacy passes on. They will not necessarily get it yet. You need to keep going with it was sort of the whole, it's okay. We're not at the finish line yet. Have a bottle of water, maybe have a snack, keep running. That was like my marathon banana last night when I was listening to it. Have a snack, keep going, it's fine. Oh.
So I think when we think about legacy, then we start thinking about, what's our legacy? What kind of a legacy do we want to leave? And like Stacy says, you may not actually know what your legacy is when you're doing it. You may be thinking about it. Her grandma didn't know that she was leaving that legacy to her granddaughter. She was doing what mattered to her the best way she could at the time. So when you think about legacy, what's that legacy that you're thinking about wanting to leave to others? And I think John Maxwell words it, when all is said and done, I want my impact to be. And so when I think about that, I do think about that making a difference, that being a catalyst, that ability to empower those around me, that recognition that I value people and I want them to feel valued by me. And what I'd really like people to say, if I think about it that way, is I'm a better person because I knew her or because she touched my life. So I'm interested in your thoughts on how you think about what impact you'd like to leave and what your legacy, what matters to you.
Sherry, can you say that one more time? When all is said and done, I want
my impact to be.
It's super thought-provoking, because I think that we go through our days and we know the fundamentals of how we want to live our lives. Like, I think that we're all pretty pretty clear on that, or we're encouraged to rethink, what, like, our affirmations and all of those things, and retraining our brain and our mindset and all of those types of things. But this is very challenging because you're not just thinking about the next 20 years. You're thinking about so much further down the road. I read a quote. I'll see if I can pull it up. I read a quote, and it's popped up a couple different times in different places. And it's really simple. And it was, I don't want my children to inherit clothes and shoes. I want them to inherit land and money, or land and like that kind of thing. And so when you really zoom out and think about that, I have always looked at stories of people, especially like in the States, right, where you've got these big family estates that are handed down from generation to generation, and it's the family land, and it's the family home, and it's the family whatever. And the legacy that leaves, it's similar to what Stacy was talking about. She's talking about feeling and all of those kinds of things. This kind of is a different space, right? But obviously, I mean, maybe not obviously, I'd rather have what Stacy's talking about than the estate on the coast of New England, or you know what I mean? Like, it's building, it's the building, but it's not the physical building. It's the emotional connection, the building of connection.
And I think that is the thought-provoking part of who we are and what matters to us. Well, we're all kind of thinking about that, and we're going to sort of encourage or invite people to share. I want to ask Janelle to speak a little bit to Plexus as the legacy company, and what the founders of Plexus think about as legacy, and why that matters to us. What's that connection for us?
Oh, this is the stuff that really gets me, because I think our founders really get it. I mean, obviously they have to get it in order to procure it, but they really get where they're going. The concept of legacy is not just a word that they throw around. It is absolutely evident in all of their actions. It's evident in how they treat people. And I think that it starts like fundamentally on that base level. If you've ever met Alec, you feel like the only person in the room. You have gotten a hug. You are important to him. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from. If you're a guest, it doesn't matter if you're in the business. It doesn't matter. You matter. The only way you matter more to him is if you're carrying a baby. And that's the truth, because he loves children. He loves children. He is known to steal babies. Tarl walked a baby in a stroller up and down when we were in Ontario. Like, these men have servant hearts, and they want to build a legacy business. And I think what is so different about this that we don't see is that they're not concerned about just building a legacy company for themselves. They're not just concerned about their own legacy. They are creating space for other people to have a legacy. And so if we're looking for evidence in this, it's actually you don't have to go very far. Yes, if you are at a Plexus event, there is just a piece to it where you just get it, because the grandeur and everything that's poured out and how they speak to you is different. It's almost palpable that this is not for the here and now, that this is for the forever. And what they have done in the last year to really, truly put us on a trajectory to become a legacy company, our compensation plan change, number one. That really spells out legacy. The way that they responded to the fact that people usually come into this for the product. They don't usually come into it for the business. How can we serve people that way? Well, we don't just say, well, this is just the way that it's always been, and this is the way that it's always going to be. No. We need to have this serve us better. So I don't know if you guys caught the piece that's important there, the piece that's protecting our businesses, the pieces that are truly adding to legacy, is that now customers, our VIP customers, don't get paid commission on their own orders. Why does that matter? Well, what matters to us is the pay point. Our pay point fluctuates depending on how much money the company is making. And so maybe right now we don't see a huge difference in that pay point. But as we bring on more and more VIP customers who are not earning on their own product, that pay point is going to go up, which is going to impact your paycheck. And you are going to be able to do more with those dollars. We're going to be able to say, yes, people are making this much money. You know, that it's putting more money into your pocket, which is so, so important. I think about the new Star Diamond level. And how that encourages legacy, which is stability in your business. Something that you can build wide, a reason to build wide, a visual to build wide. You've always known, I hope you've always known that was the best practice, right? And now Plexus is rewarding that best practice with this, right? And it's being rewarded on a level that nobody else is rewarding, right? And do those people at the top, like Nolan said to me, he's like, but do they really need a yacht? He's like, if they're at that level, they can probably, like, if they're at that level, they can probably buy themselves a vacation on a yacht. And I said, but that's not the point. Chelsea, it's the new program that got rolled out at Super Saturday. So yeah, it's so just very quickly for those who maybe don't totally understand it. It's when you get to Diamond, you get a star for every individual leg that you have that has a jewel on it that is holding in that calendar year. They have to be separate legs, right? So for example, when Sherry goes emerald and I've got Tracy and Jimmy, so Tracy is their upline, right? I still only have one star. Even though I will have 3 jewels under that leg, I will have 1 star. And that's the way that works, because the more stars you have, the more stable your business is. Celeste Gwynn has 15 stars. She's a 15-star diamond. That's amazing. The other piece to this that has always been communicated to me since I started is that you are able to leave your business to your children. You are able to will your business to your children. They can take over your position. Now, Natalie Fuller is a diamond in Canada. She lost her husband years ago. His account had already gone emerald. So the way she built was she went to emerald and he went to emerald with her. So she had proper structure. She's one of those network marketing. I understand all of the ins and outs, and she built everything so that it was just perfect and stable and great. So when he passed away, she was left his business. So now she has 2 different positions, right? So she has a diamond position now. She has her husband's emerald position, and she can actually re-enter again. She was left that. Brenna, when we were talking before we kind of started here, Brenna said, I've never heard of that in another network marketing company. Usually it just gets rolled up and it's gone, right? Can you imagine Celeste Gwynn, like what she is going to leave to her children? The other thing with it too, is that the way that Plexus allows us to build, I don't know if you guys know this or not. So I'm sorry, I'm totally going into the way that this all works. When I did other companies, there were rules with those companies that only one person in the household was allowed to have an account. Well, you look at Bridget Ryan, whose son, her and her husband each have their accounts. I think she's a reentry, and Austin and Faith have accounts with Plexus. It's all structured. Like they have done this in a structure that it is not just giving each individual child their own piece of the business, right? And she said Austin is amazing at running numbers and looking at everything. And so they've kind of created their own kind of corporation within things, right? They're incorporated. But if she passes away, it still goes to the kids. Like it's still left to someone. So not only do they have their own personal businesses, but they will have the legacy piece of that, right? And I think that the thing that is bigger is that when you're bringing your family in to understanding what we do, changing lives, like legitimately changing lives, that's a legacy that they're going to keep on, right? Just like Jimmy Lou shared with her mom, this is a different platform. It's a completely different platform. But when you listen to Alec and Charles speak, they're speaking in legacy language. They're not just speaking for today, but they also understand that helping a mom have enough money to buy groceries,
That's legacy.
that's legacy.
That's
And when they talk about having like 1,000,000 thousandaires, they understand that that is legacy. It's not just the star diamonds.
Right.
It's the opportunities for earning money and being able to do something from home. And Tarl, I think, has that just knit in his very being, with his mom having been a single mom in an MLM, and that's what she did, and that's how she brought in money. And that's what he wants to see genuinely for everybody else. I don't know, these two men have just been so incredibly impactful in so many people's lives. And the opportunity to create a legacy business that all of us have is so wide open. It's not just for the select few. It's not just for the star diamonds. It's for all of us.
Whenever I think of legacy, oh, sorry, Sharon, go ahead.
Sorry, I literally just woke up like 5 minutes after you started. I was going to say too, with the whole legacy thing, it makes me think too, especially when you talk about your children coming into the business, something we can ask ourselves now is, are we doing this business each individually in a way that our children and our grandchildren would want to do it? Right? Are my kids looking at me going, this is actually doable, I want to do that? Because it actually breaks my heart when you hear people who mom was the equivalent of Diamond or whatever in a network marketing company. And it's like, well, do your kids do the business? No way. Right? And I think, you know what? Something short-circuited there, that they don't want anything to do with it. Right? So are we doing it in a way that makes it attractive to our kids, right? Where they're looking at it going, I could do that. I could, I would like to do that. This is a good thing that you're doing. I don't know. That's just my thought too, for, I don't know, just for an extension of legacy, right? And, I hope our legacies are all, as someone who did just about die for real, I hope our legacies are a whole lot more than just like the business that we did. Trusting you're not going to be on your deathbed being like, ooh, did I make enough money? You're not going to be thinking about it. But you will be thinking about if you loved well and if you lived your life in a way that that was a way that the people around you knew that they were loved, right? And I think this is an excellent vehicle to do that. I think Plexus is such a gift. It's such a good vehicle to do that. Yeah. Anyways, something to think about.
Only you can bring that perspective, and I so value that. Yeah. I always think, and this is because I don't have that experience, I always think about the Diamond documentaries that have been so impactful to me, like Bridget Ryan's first one. And I hope that they never delete it. Like if she redoes it, I hope that they keep that old one where her kids were tiny and bawling their faces off. Like, I love you so much. I want to be just like you when I grow up. Like they're just like a puddle, right? And and each one of her kids, right? And that is always my check is, okay. So, I mean, I'm sure there are days, right? But when my diamond dock is made, I don't want to be slipping my kids a piece of paper and being like, okay, make sure you say this and don't say that. Don't say this. Don't say, I hate plexus. Like, I want my children and my husband to truly say that they love what we do, because it is not just a me do, it's a we do together.
And that really does bring us back to how we talk about it in our house, how we talk about it when we're stressed, how we think about it, and what we say. So really valuable. Stacy, you wanted to share. I'm hoping you wanted to share.
I don't know if Chelsea is still listening in, but when I think of legacy, I think of her because I've had many conversations with her about how her whole desire to build this team for herself is to be able to have missionaries that don't have to rely on the support of others and can use the funds that they have solely just to be missionaries. And so I think of Chelsea because I know her heart is to leave a legacy of telling others about Jesus. And she wants to be able to do that wherever she is and not have to worry about going to a 9-to-5 job and not worry about her husband going to a 9-to-5 job, but that they have the income to support other missionaries that want to do that too. And so I know she's busy with little ones right now, but I know that is the legacy that she wants to live and leave for other people. So I know that this can just be for everybody, right? We all want to leave a legacy for people. And I love what Sharon says about, do our kids look at this and be like, yes, I want to do that. Yes, I want, mom loved people well, and she was able to support us. She was able to be at all our basketball games and still have money to buy us the shoes we needed for basketball, right? And not be away working somewhere. And I hope I'm leaving just a glimpse of that for my kids too.
It's a little bit of a double-edged sword, though, as a stay-at-home mom. Stacey, I don't know if you ever feel that too. My children have never known what it was like to have me out of the home working. They have no clue, right? So sometimes we need to pull the perspective back in and be like, you guys remember, right? Like, yeah, I have 2 nights of calls this week. 2. Or you could go to a sitter before school and after school, and you wouldn't be going to the school you're going to because we wouldn't be able to afford it. And like, we could do that, or we could do this, right? We don't often need to have those tweaks and those talks in our home, but it is also giving perspective to our kids. And I think the other piece to the legacy with Plexus on its own is exposing our children to what Plexus actually is, not just this, right? Bringing them to events. Again, I'll use Bridget Ryan as an example, just because she brought Fallon, her second oldest daughter, to the Super Saturday and the rebrand, this like when it happened. And because she loves marketing, she loves all of those things, but they're layering exposures of their kids on how corporate treats us, how you're spoken to in a good job, right? Like, you think about that. We teach people how to treat us. We put out expectations of how we want to be treated or what type of work environment we want to be in. If your kids don't know that this exists, right? I look at the stark contrast between Nolan's work environment and mine. I mean, my work environment probably wouldn't work for law enforcement, but not the same. However, right? Exposing, like, I want to bring my kids to winner's dinner. I want to bring a kid to black tie. I want to bring a kid to convention in general so that they can see what is out there, not just working in a school or working in a grocery store or working, like, none of those things are inherently wrong, but it's the big picture. It is the law of the big picture. It's giving that view so that they can buy into as big a legacy as they could possibly think of. Yes, Amy.
Well, that was a very interesting way of putting that exposure and legacy, because the other pieces are allowing them to see there are more options in everything. If they like law enforcement, that does not mean the RCMP is the only law enforcement way. There are more options. And I'm just picking on that one because we just had this thing about you have to go to a job. Nope. Our kids have never, like any day of the week, if we have an appointment or an emergency, we don't have to ask permission to go. We never have, because we've always been both parents, grandparents, my siblings, like our family is very flexible. My sister kind of has to ask permission, but mostly if I called her any day, she'd just leave and maybe she'd tell somebody. But that's normal in our world. It's that exposure to open up your thinking. And that's actually a legacy thing, to be willing to continue to learn further, recognize that there's going to be different things that you want to learn. And if you're not interested in people or network marketing, guess what? There's IT. There's other ways to support any industry you want. Or my cousin, who is taking criminology right off the farm. That's a legacy too, because he wants to expose himself to something different, and that's okay.
Totally. I actually think about that time that I brought it was just my 3 younger kids down to visit you guys in Val Marie. And I actually remember thinking about legacy when I came, because I was like, these are people that we wouldn't typically have met if it wasn't for Plexus. They, like, Lucas and Catherine are friends now. That has impacted the next generation, right? Like, to me, my children meeting you guys, that's a piece of legacy, right? Like that's part of it, and exposing them and them having relationships with you guys, and the fact that they know you, right? Like that's another piece to this business. You know, if somebody ranks up on our team, I'm super excited. 9 times out of 10, my kids know who those people are. Like they know your faces, they know the stories, they know, like, because we talk about people in this business like it's just regular dinner table talk, and it's positive, it's not bad. But you know, the other piece of legacy, guys, that we need to talk about, because we're talking about John Maxwell, is mindset. Mindset is the legacy. Growth, personal growth, that's a legacy that you need to leave your kids. The world would like to munch on their brains, and you need to set up safeguards and introducing them to the fact that they have control over their thoughts. And that mindset work is just as important as disciplining yourself to, you know, eat right and exercise and all of those things. It's a huge thing. Stacy, I want to, like, what you shared has a ton to do with mindset. A ton to do with mindset, the family mindset, the priorities, all of those things. That's a palpable thing.
So I think it really does, you know, come full circle. It comes back to knowing what legacy you want to leave and how you want to model it for your family, for the people around you, for the people that you touch in any way. So now that we've had some time to think about it, does anybody have sort of a thought on what legacy you're thinking about as your legacy? Yeah, like Jimmy says, Joshua getting to know Jessica Hugendorn's son. Never would have thought. So brilliant.
We joke about arranged plexus marriages too. So, I mean, there's that piece of legacy.
And I love the comment Brenna made. Mindset is the legacy. So true, that Janelle made. Yeah.
I think one of the pieces of legacy that I want to leave for my kids, and this is or for generations, is, and it's neat because it's such a thread with what Stacy said and what Jimmy shared, but everybody has value. And to really instill that into my kids, that no matter who you are, no matter who you meet, everyone has value.
I think that's probably one that I kind of go with too, Janelle, is just instilling that idea that people have, that God has created everybody with purpose and a value. This week, working with youth, like I work at our church as a small group leader for our youth. I've been told of 3 girls this week, ages grade 7 to 10, who want to take their life this week. 3 teenage girls who feel so hopeless that the only way that they can see out is to end their life. And so my youth girls, every week they get it preached to them that you are loved and God has a purpose for you and you have value. And I hope someday at my funeral, I will have hundreds of teenage girls that will say those words meant so much to me. And so that, I think, is what I want to instill to my kids, to their friends. That's why I make such a point to be really connected to my kids as friends, and to make sure that if they don't know about youth group, come, because I know that there's people there that want to teach them that and want to tell them that. And I think that is what, I don't know, that's just from a little girl. Maybe I didn't feel that worth and that value. I don't know what it is, but that is just something that I've wanted to ingrain in my kids since they were little, and have made that point to have really close connections with who their friends are and who, they're hanging around with, and the girls that come into our youth. So, yeah.
That makes me think of Mother Teresa, Stacy. Sharon, yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, Stacy has touched on this so well, where it's really, when it's all said and done, what is the feeling that we've left people with? Right. And it's Alyssa Bjorn, is that how you say her last name? A few weeks ago, she did, that's kind of what she talked about in Team Awesome, right? Is what is that, I think it was her, what is that aftertaste we leave people with, right? Both in the short term, but also in the long term, right? And I think, like, in Plexus, we need to look at how can we use this business as a tool to help us do that, right? Yeah, I mean, for me, that's what it is. It just needs to be an extension of what I want people to say about me, because actually a long time ago, like, I don't know, I had to take some dumb career training in my 20s that the BC government put me through. And one of the questions during our fake interview was, what do you want written on your headstone? Which no one's going to ask you that in real life in your interview. So, but they did there. And I was able to answer right away, she loved well. Right. Like, and then already then I knew that's what I want people to say to me. So for whatever I do, that's kind of the lens that I put it up against. That's, Is that going to leave people saying that about me? Right? You know, and in the small in plexus, is this gonna, how I do my business, is it gonna help people to say about me, she loved well? Was it just an extension of what I was doing anyways? Right. And that, for me, that's the legacy that I want to leave. And, you know, I mean, Stacy was talking and Jimmy was talking a lot about how you had a home where it was like always, it was welcoming. People knew it was a safe place, right? And that's like the home that I grew up into. That's like the home that my immigrant grandparents provided for my dad, even though their story is insane, right? And you can just see how that goes on. And it's just like kind of thing that my siblings are providing for people. And it really and truly has saved lives before. There's a number of people who've come back and it's like, well, you know what? I didn't kill myself because I wanted to go to your house the next day for lunch. Right? So I don't know. We don't know what we do. And I think that it's the lens that we have to put things up against is what we want people to say about us. What is that legacy we want to leave? So I don't know if that makes sense. It's early.
Totally
Total
does.
sense. Total sense.
It makes me think of the teachers that have been so impactful so far on me at my kids' school. We've got a group of kids who were in a foster family. I think there were like 10 of them in this foster family. And they had enough foresight to put all of these children into the Christian school in Regina. And for whatever reason, over the last 12 months or so, it's kind of dissolved. They still have a couple of the kids at the house, but these kids have come up all the way through, and some of the kids have graduated, like they're older, but there are a few of the kids in the same grade as Lucas. Some of the kids are related. They're not all, like, some of them are in the same grade, but they're not all the same age. And one of the kids had left and now has come back, like moved away and had come back. And one of the teachers took him in. And she has grown children and their family, like he is a really cool kid, struggles a little bit. I think that there probably was some FAS in his history, but like I watched them come to his basketball games, and I'll use dad loosely, his dad made a sign for him with his name on it and a little like caricature that he drew. And they're there videotaping every move this kid makes. He's probably 18, but he's in grade 10. They're videotaping the whole thing and they're like huge fans, right? And then we had another kid from that home who was struggling in health, like with his health and a ton of other things. And he was literally getting picked up by a cab and taken from school to a group home because this home had dissolved, but he was still going to the same school. He was still enrolled. And one of the other families went through all the paperwork to take this kid in because they said that can't happen. Like, and he struggles massively. Can you imagine? Christian school, bad call in basketball. This kid lets rip through the whole gym. What the bleep, 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 bleep. And the parents are like, ah! And the kids on the bench are like jumping on this kid. Finally, we see this hand come over to his mouth. One of the kids is like, you need to stop. He's got some emotional issues, right? This kid is not a walk in the park kid, but the parents and the teachers, like this is somebody who works at the school too. They want to impact these young men. And so they've gone through all of the hoops to bring them in to their home. And we see so many teachers who have adopted children and now are bringing them through this school. And it's like, it is so hugely impactful on the basis of legacy, because you think like these people are changing the trajectory of these young people's lives, and they are helping them. They're building a legacy for these kids. And that's why I don't homeschool anymore, is because we saw the leadership and the legacy at this school, and we were like, yep, this needs to be part of our children's building blocks. So
I think we're close to wrap up time. I think it's been Interesting. I think it's been kind of a deep
Thought-provoking.
conversation. Yeah. So we've set aside next week for everyone to share what impacted them about this book. Which of the laws maybe did you find easy? Which of the laws are you working with? Which of the laws maybe your husband is really good at, or maybe not? But which laws maybe impacted you the most? So we want to kind of do a wrap up time where we can kind of go back and think about all of the laws, or in specific, the laws that mattered most to you. And then the week after is when we start the 5 levels. No, tell me.
I was given an ultimatum last night that I could do one thing or another. I think actually, and I haven't talked to Jimmy about this either, but I'm being selfish because I don't want to miss it, and I can't be there the first week, and the first week is so important, and so we're gonna actually do one last week, and then we're gonna jump into the 5 levels. And the 5 levels of leadership is going to be, if you thought that this was going to be impactful, this is just another building block. I'm so excited about it. You need to get the book. Please get the book. Even if you listen to it on Audible, please get the book, because you will want something to write in. You will want something to look back on. You will. And so we are going to go to, it's page 37, I think, we're going to go all the way to level 1 position. And so there's a leadership assessment. There's an overview of the 5 levels you can kind of read to see if you really want to get this deep. But this is so good. And remember, the whole purpose of doing the 21 laws was to do this after. So we have done this in preparation for the 5 levels. So please join us, get other people to come and join us too, even people that aren't doing the business. I think that this is going to be so super great. And just as a really quick plug, Emily Gibson is going to come and talk about thought coaching on Wednesday in the Leader Lounge. I'm so excited to hear from her. She reached out to me the other day. She reached out and asked if she could come and do it. And so I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Yeah, I really do believe that mindset is legacy and it's impactful. Just ask my husband. The neutral feelings I had about the turkey not being cooked at Christmas, that will live on forever.
Leona wants to clarify what's happening on the 5th.
Yeah, so nothing is happening on the 5th. We're going to start the next week. You can sleep in on the 5th. You're welcome. You're welcome. We're good. Oh, actually, if you feel like doing a road trip, come to Regina and come to our Holy Spirit Encounter weekend at my church on the 5th. Ask me about it. That would be super great. That's why I'm not going to be here, because we're going to do that. Yeah. Anyway, have a great day, guys. We will see you soon. Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you.